My Life as a Celebrity Lookalike is the real-life telling of Steven Sims' journey of looking like Jonah Hill from 2007 to 2010. This podcast has been created to share the unique story of looking like a celebrity lookalike. In no way has this podcast been created to disparage, humiliate, or destroy Jonah Hill.
All right, and here we are the final episode. That's right, Josh, the final episode of My Life as a Celebrity Lookalike, Season 1, or forever. We don't know. What the hell? How you doing?
I know I referred to this as our prom episode. I feel like we get one last, slow dance together.
We're here for our 8th and final episode of the story of what it was like to look like Jonah Hill, and we have a special guest with us today who we're going to bring in right away. He's already here. He's sitting in the green room. Ladies and gentlemen, you might know him as Austin Scott, but I will forever know him as McAnalovin. Ladies and gentlemen, Austin, what's up, buddy?
Hello. That's a term I like to not refer to myself as, but thank you. I appreciate it.
You know, some people are listening to the podcast right now. They're like, "What the hell is Sims talking about? Why is he calling this guy McAnalovin?"
I'm sure nobody knows.
Yeah, no one probably knows. But I will fill them in right now. And this is what we're talking about in this episode, the big finale. Austin and I were in a movie together in 2000, came out in 2010. We filmed in 2009 called The 41-Year-Old Virgin Who Knocked Up Sarah Marshall and Felt Super Bad About It. Yes, I still need to look at a piece of paper when I read it because it's the longest title in the world. Austin, it's great to have you, man. How have you been?
Dude, I love you. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it. It's been a while. I've been locked in my apartment during COVID. But dude, I'm great. I'm fantastic. How are you?
I'm great too, man. It's good to see, we haven't, we obviously have had a year of no one seeing anyone, but there probably was another year or two before that since we talk quite a bit, but we don't, even though we live maybe 3 miles from each other, we don't see each other that much.
It's the LA way.
It's the LA way. Yeah. COVID was made for us because, now we have all of an excuse to stay home. I was telling the lovely Josh when we were coming up with the idea for this podcast, I was like, the last episode needs to have Austin in it. And it's not because Austin was in the 41-Year-Old Virgin with me, but we buddied up. We were like buddy actors. We didn't know each other. We both were young. I was 26. You were probably what, 24, 25? A couple years younger than me.
How old are you now?
I'm 37. So yeah.
I'm 35. So you're about right.
There you go. Yeah, there we go. So I did my research. And it was just a fun thing to do. We were both working in the industry. We were both doing acting work. And I mean, everything from me, Josh, I would pick up Austin because I don't think you had a car. I think you just had a skateboard.
That's true.
Yeah, I would pick him up and at Mid Wilshire, and we'd drive up to like wherever we shot Chatsworth or wherever the hell these studios were
all
that we were in
downtown.
Yeah,
wherever.
It was crazy, but just to get Austin up to speed where we left off last week, and I want to hear his side of this because not about me, but about him. Because, we talked last week, Josh, that Daniel Francesi reached out to me. He told me about the film. I didn't want to audition. I went on the audition. I bombed the audition. And then they called me that night and was like, we really want you to come back in because I left them a copy of Destroying Jonah Hill, the DVD. And I'm sure that's what made them like, this guy looks like him.
Of course.
He actually can act, but he's not good at auditioning. What the
boss
hell?
Move, by the way. Boss
move. You big leagued them. You were just you know what? I've reconsidered over the last 3 hours. I had some Arby's. I've calmed down, and I've decided this isn't the career move for me.
I, honest to God, think I said something along the lines like, I don't want to make fun of the people that I look up to, like Apatow and them, which is so ridiculous because it's it goes back to what Daniel said in the Facebook message. This is how you this advances your career in any way. And even though it didn't change my life, it kind of did in a way and made things more fun. And I literally told the casting agent, I don't want to do this. No, thanks. And then maybe a day or two later, Craig Moss, who directed The 41-Year-Old Virgin, called me. And this is so Hollywood because the director calls me, wants to take me to lunch. And it's like, you know,
You got the VIP treatment.
I got VIP. And I mean, we ended up going to like a shawarma hut in Studio City, which is totally fine by me. That's more my speed. But it wasn't like we were at Musso and Frank's, like a scene in like Once Upon a Time in Hollywood or something.
He canceled the sushi restaurant reservations. He heads over and honks the horn. Sims comes out and he's like, "We're getting shawarma, baby."
Shawarma. It was great. But Craig called me, and you know, I mean, I never had a director call me before and say, "Hey, let me take a minute and try to get you to be a part of this movie." So we had lunch. Long story short, I thought about it, and I think most of my friends were like, "Are you being stupid? Why you could be in a movie? Like, it's a straight to DVD movie where you play this guy that you've already played."
Wait, what can I ask? Why wouldn't you do? What was the reason you actually were considering and didn't want to do it?
I honestly think, and I'm glad you asked, I think it was because we did so much with Jonah Hill, like my crew and I, the years leading up to that, 2007, 2008. And there was like meeting Jonah Hill and like a lot of disappointment where I was like, why would I do this one last thing? But again, now as a 37-year-old who's been living in Hollywood for 13 years, 14 years, I know like you don't say no to anything. Like you don't. So I ended up taking the job on my 26th birthday, which is July 28th, 2009. And about 2 weeks later, we started filming. But before we get into the filming and how I met Austin and, you know, the adventures we had together, what was the process like for you, Austin? Like, did you have an agent? How did you find out about the movie?
Yeah. So yeah, I had an agent, and I the typical route. I had auditioned, and it actually was for the Michael Cera part.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. So I went in for Michael Cera, and I read for that, and they were like, "Yeah, all right." And I said, "Oh, but you know, I did play a parody of McAnalovin last year." And they're like, "What are you talking about?" I said, "Disaster movie with with Kim Kardashian and Carmen Electra. Check it out." And so they checked it out, and they brought me back for the callback for McAnalovin. And they were like, "Listen," or they told me before I came, they're like, "Listen, there already is a McAnalovin cast. They already cast him. And he's the guy that plays him in the trailer." Remember, did you get sent this trailer that was like they kind of made it in the beginning? It was, essentially, they filmed it for a pitch.
Yeah, it had some. I remember you telling me about it. It had someone else who parodied Steve Carell and not Brian Callen in it. Right? Yeah. Was that true? Yeah. And that I never saw that because I was like an NFL player that held out till like the first day.
You refused to show up to camp.
Yeah.
So they call me back, and I go back there, and I'm literally at the callback, and I'm at whatever that their place, Silver Nitrate in Studio City, and it's just me and him. We're the only guys. Like, they basically brought in him again just to make sure, and with me, you know? And so I hear him in there, and I didn't see him yet. I hear the audition going on, and I'm like, dang, this guy sounds pretty legit, you know? But like, I can do this. And so he walks out, and I'm like, damn, he does look like him. Because I don't really look like him. You know what I mean? Like, I kind of just, so basically I go in there, and I do the whole thing, and I do exactly what I did in Disaster. And I just go, chicka, chicka, yeah, and I kind of hold my hand up like that, the little, weak-handed, Christopher Mintz-Plasse.
Yeah, and you parodied him well.
And Craig Moss just goes, he stands up, he's like, "That's great." So thanks, man. And that was it. I booked it.
That's so funny. Like they retooled the cast for at least two of us at the very last minute, it seems like, because I'm sure there was I know when I went in on the audition, there was different versions of me sitting there. And, at that time, Jonah Hill was a very popular breakdown at the time. And, it was a lot of heavyset guys with curly Jewish hair that were going out for Jonah Hill. So I'm sure they had another one. But that's funny. I did not know that because, you don't look like Christopher Mintz-Plasse, but you have the ability to do his mannerisms really well, and you have a build like him. So it definitely works. I mean,
skinny, I put on the glasses, and then I do a little kind of haircut, and I put on the long build, shirt button down, and it's in the vest. I'm in.
What was Disaster movie like? I mean, how long? You probably told me when we worked together, but was Disaster movie you got flown somewhere for that, didn't you?
it's one of those fun experiences of my life. I literally got flown first class, one of the only times I've ever been flown first class in my entire life, to Louisiana, and got put up for a week in my own hotel room to film for literally 4 hours on a Friday. We basically me and the guy that played Jonah Hill, it was really funny because we became buds, and like,
Yeah.
it was only me and him in the scene. So we like really just were hanging out until it was our time to shine. And his name's Noah Harpster. And he's actually, he's still doing acting stuff, but he ended up being one of the top head writers and supervising producers of Transparent.
Oh, wow.
And then like basically wrote the new Maleficent movie for Disney with his writing partner, and he's just killing it. So, you know, I'm saying, who knows what happens to some of these people in these parody movies? You know, like, who fucking knows? Either way, we're eating mud bugs. We're drinking beer, hanging out, playing poker the entire week. We finally go on set. We're eating lobster, eating steak. It's like a $25 million movie. Probably one of the worst movies that's ever been released in the history of cinema. But hey, you know, I got lobster out of it. I got a free trip to Louisiana, you know?
And then if I recall correctly, you went to like see it at ArcLight in Hollywood, and wasn't Kim Kardashian there with like some of her family and friends?
Yeah.
See, I remember these stories better than I remember my own stories.
Can you imagine right now Kim Kardashian going to the local cinema to catch the movie she had a cameo in?
The whole crew.
So funny.
The whole crew. And at that point, she was, you know, no Kanye around.
Yeah. Yeah, it was. I mean, that's a great example, because it's like, where does people after a parody movie go? And we'll talk about that in a few minutes, where some of our colleagues went, you know, beyond some of them. I mean, Randall Park is Randall Park, and but like, even just Kim Kardashian, you know, she's in a parody movie, and now, you know, 14 years later, she's like the queen of America, you know, just like the reality queen. It's crazy.
I thought that was great, because on the Rotten Tomatoes page for 41-year-old virgin who knocked up Sarah Marshall and felt super bad about it, Austin is credited, but you have no mention whatsoever. Austin has like second billing, like listed on the Rotten Tomatoes page.
Are you serious?
Austin usually does. Like when it was on like On Demand years ago, it would always be like Brian Callen, Norween DeWolf, and Austin Scott. And I think it's because Austin had representation and had a little bit more going on for him. All I had was Destroying Jonah Hill and Farting Dude.
Well, Farting Dude is up there, but the movie info on Rotten Tomatoes reads as sex crazed buddies Stephen Kramer Glickman and Austin Michael Scott try to help a middle-aged man, Brian Callen, lose his innocence.
It's so funny because I never had one scene with Steven. We never had one scene together. We weren't even best friends.
I've only seen the trailer, and I knew that was inaccurate.
Yeah, but most of my scenes were with, I mean, we had scenes separate, because you had scenes with Officer Beat and Officer Yo Ass. And I only remember these names when I looked up the IMDb today. But for anyone listening, Officer Yo Ass was played by Randall Park, who went on to actually be a part of like the Apatow crew and have his own series and do a lot of great stuff. So congratulations to Randall. But there's a few others in the cast that, I mean, and just to not snub myself and Austin, like we are star, you know, production people. You know, we've rose to the unscripted world of television, you know, just behind the lens. What can I say? Hollywood over here.
We made ourselves onward to unscripted television.
I mean, Austin, you got some great editing credits, and just so anyone knows, Austin is a fantastic editor, and I know you're trying to break into the scripted a little bit, as we all are. But you've worked on some really cool stuff as an editor, including Lego Masters.
Yep,
and
got an editing Emmy nomination for that.
Big fan of Lego Masters personally.
Masked Singer, first season.
You got like Emmy nominated shows under your belt, and again, that's why it's like, you look at like this list on IMDb of everyone who was in the 41-year-old virgin, and some went on to be great actors. Some, you know, the guy who ended up playing Michael Cera, Stephen Nichols, who knows where he is. But it's like, you know, Austin and I went a different avenue. We're behind the scenes, and we both work for Emmy nominated shows. And it's kind of interesting to see where people net out. But like, you know, I don't know what Stephen Kramer Glickman's up to. I know he had his Nickelodeon show, but I just realized before we got on this pod, and I'm going to say her last name wrong, even though I hear it every Saturday night, Melissa Villasenora from SNL.
Villasenor.
She was in our movie.
Oh, yeah. Isn't she like on SNL or something?
She's on SNL. She played the Sarah Silverman character in our movie.
She clearly won.
Yeah, she won. Yeah,
Brian Callen, let's face it, definitely did not win in the
Yeah.
end.
Oh, yeah. Listen, Brian Callen, we won't go into detail, but he definitely lost. And if you've been following Brian Callen in the last 10 years, not good. Also, side note, totally snubbed me in an airplane, and on an empty airplane too. It wasn't a crowded airplane. It was I'm still pissed about it. It was like an early morning flight, and like we weren't even in first class. We were both in whatever's in between first class and like
business.
The back. Yeah, we were in like the business. We were right near each other, and I go, "Hey Brian, how's it going? Good to see you." Snubbed the hell out of me. Just looked out the window. Totally nothing.
He totally would. What a dick. I mean, how often does he really get recognized outside of LA?
So you got the part. And then we met. I think the first time we met was there was like not a table read, but like there was something. Everything was in Studio City.
It was either Sportsman's Lodge.
Sportsman's Lodge.
Austin, how did you get to set the first day? Did you skate to set the first day before you get wrangled Sims into picking you up?
Because when I was younger, I was horrible with like car things, and I got I forgot. Okay, so I had parking tickets, and I couldn't afford to pay the parking tickets. So then I had the registration, and I couldn't pay the registration without paying the parking tickets. So then I was like, everything was kind of piling up, snowballing. And I was delivering food. So it's like, you would think I would actually take care of my shit because I'm driving for a living, but I wasn't. And, I was just reckless. And so I get pulled over one day, and they're like, "Hey, your license is suspended." I'm like, "What? What are you talking about?" They're like, "Well, you didn't pay your parking tickets, and then you didn't pay your registrations. Now your license is suspended." I'm like, "God damn it." And they're like, "Well, yeah, so we're going to take your car." And so I got my car impounded by LAPD. Car sat in impound. And that for about 3 years, I had this license suspension issue to deal with. So I skated around LA, taking the subway and skateboarding. And I would show up to these editing gigs, and I would they'd be like, "Bro, we're paying you like $3,500 a week, and you can't get a car." I'm like, "I have a suspended license," but I normally would learn to tell people, I'd be like, "I like to go green, take my skateboard, take this out." And they're like, "Wow, props, good guy."
I specifically remember you asking me. I remember we were at the Sportsman Lodge, and we all met for the first time, and we were doing our scenes, and you said, "Hey, do you think you could pick me up?" And I actually lived near you because I lived in that big party house, what we called the Compound.
Totally.
Right over, right below,
it was like down there.
Below, a couple streets below where you lived. Yeah. So but I remember my first thing being like, "Oh God, this LA guy doesn't have a car. Like, what is going on? I got to pick him up." But like, how much fun did we have, like just driving to set in the morning, and like, it's just like, I was thinking about it today before we got on, and I was like, it was just really like, because I remember a couple times, I think you even came back to like my house, and we hung out and we smoked and just chilled and like just had a fun time, and like, it was just a really cool moment. And again, it's like, it only took like a week, Josh, for me to realize, why was I saying no to this?
I'm surprised it took more than a week to film. To be totally honest,
it took a month. I think it took a month, right? 3 or 4 weeks.
It was longer kind of than I thought, and I was like, "Dang, like this is chill. Like I'm getting paid to like have fun and like jump in shit," and it was great.
Yeah, we had trailers.
What trailers?
We had trailers. I mean, now they weren't the Star Wagons that you see, around town, but they were the Honey Wagons. If you don't know what that is, look up Honey Wagon versus Star Wagon. But we definitely had trailers, which again was cool because like you show up to your trailer, and Austin probably knew this more than I did because of his stint on Disaster Movie and some, you were doing acting when you were younger. But like I show up and there's a gift basket for me. And then like, I show up with all my lines ready, Josh, ready to go. I don't realize like in movies, you just learn your lines when you're in between scenes.
You're walking on set reading.
Yeah, you literally have so much time to just sit there and learn lines. And like, it was just a good time. And so Austin and I are in our early and mid 20s. We're about to play Jonah Hill and McAnalovin in The 41-Year-Old Virgin Who Knocked Up Sarah Marshall and felt super bad about it, which at the time was called Slumdog Virgin. because
right.
there was some parodies of Slumdog Millionaire in there. That just came out a couple months before. And it was cool too because the ADs were really cool. And I know we're all still friends on Facebook. It was a cool crew.
Great crew.
Just like, Hollywood in general is like a bunch of misfits, but it was a really fun crew of different people. And, Matt and Jason and Brian were the ADs and they were really great. And it was fun. And I don't know. Like I haven't watched it in a while. I know it's on Amazon Prime now. I might.
Is it?
It is.
Well, I
guess that asked me the question. Like, do you still get residual checks?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Good. I just didn't want
to. Let me whip out my latest one. Hold on 1 second. I just got one the other day. I'll show you guys. This is huge. Huge. $1.04.
You know what? That's so funny because I got mine the other day because it's whatever Q1 of, whatever it is, however they do it. But mine was probably like $26. And the only reason mine is more because I had no representation. Like I think everything that I get a residual check for is just something that I just cold signed without like understanding what it was. And it kind of played in my favor.
Because you don't have to give a cut to anybody.
I don't give a cut to anyone.
You know what the thing is? No, that's not true though, because residuals. You know what? This isn't even for. This is for another show.
That's for disaster movie.
That's for disaster movie.
It's actually for my stint on iCarly.
Yeah. Tell us a little bit. What other acting? Now, are you still acting? I mean, I know you're working as an editor full time and Emmy-nominated editor.
Appreciate it. No, I'm not. Well, I have an agent still, technically. I went on a technically Corona audition, technically 3 days ago. But
so Hollywood, I'm not acting anymore, but I went on an audition 3 days ago.
I normally don't. And I haven't booked anything for a while, and I don't try. I don't care. Editing's great, and it keeps me super busy. It's super consistent. I basically work every day of the year if I want.
Yeah.
So I don't. Yeah. What have I done? I think anybody who has seen my work will have probably seen the Skittles Newlyweds commercial on YouTube.
Yes, I knew you when you made that, and yes, that was so
probably
good.
My biggest hit, I would say, even bigger than 41-Year-Old Virgin or Disaster Movie, because that's been seen, I would say, a good 50 million times around. Between the amount of times people uploaded it and downloaded it, uploaded it under a new handle and all that kind of stuff.
Austin was doing, you were doing like different commercial spots and stuff for a while.
Commercials and, Kia, Chase, random kind of stuff, that you just, it's filler stuff.
I was in one. I can't remember what was it for TomTom? I was the Break Free commercial.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, no, the thing that I actually, I would actually film my own stuff sometimes.
Yeah, you were doing your own, producing your own
video contests and stuff. And me and you made a great, I want to break free.
I remember the Break Free. Yeah, I remember that.
Austin produced and directed that. And, I didn't, again, coming from only acting as a child and not coming to LA to act, I didn't have a big reel or anything. I had Farting Dude. I had my own movies. And then so something like the Break Free commercial was huge. And at the time, my agents loved it because it was such a great piece and really showed my personality. So I really always appreciated that. And yeah, you have to check out the Skittles commercial. I forgot about that. I mean, you were known as the Skittles groom for a while on the internet, right? Because it was the bride and groom bit.
It got a huge thing, and they Australia had some big show about it, and it was an ad show, and they talked about it. Did a whole segment on, disruptive advertising and how independent filmmakers are coming in and making these ads, and nobody knows if it's a real ad or not. And it's just
that's
it
wild,
made a little
man.
bit of a stir for sure.
That is really wild.
Just search Skittles Newlyweds. You'll find
Skittles Newlyweds.
And then Josh, you know what? If once you see that, you really have to search Reese's Pieces Love Child. That's the sequel.
That's the sequel. I didn't even know there was a sequel. This is
you'll die.
Two-parter.
Wild.
Full VFX. You'll love it.
So after, so we did 41-Year-Old Virgin and we had some fun scenes together. I don't want to graze over the filming. We did, we of course had the McLovin, the getting the booze scene. I think you did that. I was there that day when
booze flying everywhere, Mentos and Coke.
Yeah, and you got to do some fun stunts. Like you said earlier, you fell into a big bucket of poop or a big porta-john of poop.
Yeah, it was a parody of the Slumdog Millionaire scene when he jumps in the outhouse the mud, the poop pit.
Yeah. I end up, fun fact, I end up getting murdered at the end of the 41-Year-Old Virgin, which most people don't know because you don't make it that far into the movie. And also, if I remember correctly,
We didn't I too?
I think we both die, but I think our characters
I thought
halfway
only
through,
you died.
the Superbad characters disappear halfway through, and then we come back at the end and die. So it's I'm sure most people I know that were watching it because they knew me maybe stopped it before I died, but I definitely die in the end. But we had a lot of fun filming it, and it was I really loved working with Craig, and you still talk to Craig, right? And still do some work with him?
Every once in a while. What's funny is the whole time we were on that, I was in his ear that I was an editor. And I also told him numerous times on set that I was like, listen, I love your work. I love your comedy. You're so weird. I was like, what's his name? I can't remember his name now. Oh, you know Clint Howard, Craig?
Yeah.
And he said, yeah. I said, I want to be your Clint Howard, Craig. He said, okay. And so literally the dude put me in 4 of his movies as with 1 or 2 lines. And I just loved it. He's such a good dude. I was in Badass with Danny Trejo, and I was in Breaking Wind. I was as one of the noob vampires. And so on Breaking Wind, I was he was finally hey, listen, you might be able to edit this. And I was like, are you serious? He's like, yeah. You want to do it? Would you want to do it? I'm like, fuck yeah. Let me do it. And at that point, I wasn't even really a real editor. I was an assistant editor, and I was really, hungry. And so I edited Breaking Wind on my little iMac at home in Koreatown for a month and sent him the cut. And he's like, this shit is amazing. This is amazing. I was like, dude, I literally broke out Breaking Wind, the Twilight movie. And I literally just shot for shot was doing
which makes a great parody. That makes a great parody.
So I got to edit the movie for him. So I've definitely worked with him a few times for sure. He's great. Dude.
Yeah, I didn't know you edited it. That's really cool. Because Craig's a really great guy. And I mean, even going back to him just taking the time to court this no-name loser named me just to get into his movie and buying me shawarma. That was really nice of him to do. I'm sure you knew this. I don't know if you saw it, but I don't do any acting anymore either. But if they call, hell, I'm available. I'm like Bill Murray. You just call the number and I'll answer if I want. And 2016, I was producing for American Ninja Warrior, and I got a random phone call from Central Casting, and I was like, oh, wonder what this is about. What did I do? And it ended up being in a David Wayne movie where I played Stephen First, who played Flounder in Animal House, and I got to parody Animal House, which is one of my favorite movies. Yeah.
Oh, that was so cool. I remember that was a really cool movie, actually.
Really fun. And probably disaster movie. I was on set a couple days, but my big scene was this stunt scene. And if anyone's seen Animal House, which you should, if you haven't, it's when Flounder at the end, it goes, hey, Niedermeyer, and he has the seltzer bottle, and then it blows up. So I got to do a stunt. So I was upgraded to the cast. And get residuals for that shit too.
Damn, that's sick. Chris Spencer, he's an underrated dude, but he played Officer Beat. And dude is one of the biggest writers in LA. I mean, he has been killing it for years. He actually created that show Real Husbands of Hollywood with Kevin Hart and all them. He's one of the creators of that show.
He writes for the Academy Awards and stuff too. I saw I mean, he's just he's a very popular writer. And we talked about Randall Park, who you might not know Randall Park by his name, but I mean, you know him from his show. I mean, I think he's in WandaVision now. I haven't watched it yet.
Are you serious? Really? Awesome.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he's in WandaVision. He's a star of Fresh Off the Boat. And other movies that he was in, he played Kim Jong-un in The Interview, which was so good. He's an Ant-Man. I mean, he was in Veep as Danny Chung. He just has a really great career. And I remember when we were filming, he was getting married, and his wife also has a fantastic career. I can't remember her name, but she's on Friends from College and a couple other shows that I've seen. Huh. And so it's kind of cool to look back and see, it is true. Hard work pays off. And Noreen DeWolf, she's doing really well, and she's married to Ryan Miller, who's an ice hockey player. And
I didn't know that. What's so funny? I was just thinking about it, and then just sitting here thinking about Chris. Chris actually, there's several scenes, Steve, I'm sure that that I did without you, And there's a couple scenes with just Officer Beat and Officer Yo Ass, and I got to, ride around a stunt police car and do all kinds of fun stuff. But Chris actually picked me up a couple times.
Oh.
Give me a ride. I was like, Chris, you live around me?
That's probably because I was like, I'm not on those days, Austin. I can't think you.
Yeah.
But yeah, so a lot of names came out of the film, and we had a lot of fun. It's just been kind of neat to watch everyone's career, and I guess things wrapped up with us in the 41-Year-Old Virgin. With you did a year later, it came out June 2010, and I think you and Ashley both came to the screening
party.
we had at the compound. Yeah, we had we had 2 big TVs, and then we had a moon bounce set up in the backyard, and it was.
I definitely remember the moon bounce.
Yeah, the moon bounce was there.
Was that the official release? Was that the official cast release?
That was it, man. It was fun. It was fun, and we. Josh, do you remember hearing or seeing about the 41-Year-Old Virgin? Because this is the questions. I have some questions for you, actually, as a let's just say a fan.
I remember, I certainly have memories of it where I saw it for sale explicitly, but when it first came out, I went out of my way to watch your scene, which is the molester scene.
Yes. One of the best scenes in the movie, in my opinion.
Yeah, miscast where, Brian should have been, but still, the way that it plays out with Chris Hansen in that scene, and you kind of have a stunt where you get tackled on the lawn a little bit. You get a little physical.
I think he farts.
And you become farting dude again.
Yeah, always goes back to farting dude.
You know what would be great? We'll get him to fart again. Perfect.
You know what he's known for? He farted into a canister. Answers. 2008.
But I felt like where it was kind of, a sketch kind of built movie, I just felt like that was the pinnacle for me as a fan. So that was the only bit of it I really ever saw.
Individual sketches within the parody story.
Yeah.
I get what
I don't know so much the overarching story other than the title. And
I think that and Steven's There Will Be Blood moment, I think we're top ranked in my opinion. Also my scene with the stripper where I got to motorboat her boobs.
Oh yeah, was that Puma Swede?
No, Puma Swede was in the cocktail lounge scene, and this one was some sort of disturbed, extra turned, upgraded, had some fake boobs and was pushing 50, and I don't know. God bless her.
I imagine Puma Swade's rate was probably 3 times yours.
We found her stripper. Oh, here she is.
You found her?
Yeah. What's her name? Let's see here.
Yeah.
Diana Turanova.
Oh, doesn't ring a bell.
She was in Get 'Em to the Greek as a lap dancer in Vegas.
Of course she was.
And she has been working primarily as... She's an animal wrangler now. She was the spider wrangler on Knives Out.
What?
That's a career turn.
Literally, in 2014, she started becoming an insect wrangler, then the animal wrangler. Again, it's crazy, and this is just this podcast is a great example of like what just happens in Hollywood. I mean, one day you're playing McAnalovin, next thing you know, you're nominated for a show for an Emmy that you edited in your house. It's just nuts. It's crazy. But we had some fun times, Austin. We really did. And I just go back to Josh. I remember people like reaching out like with pictures of it being like on the shelves at Family Video, or like the one place where it seemed to always show up was the Walmart bargain bin.
Oh yeah,
that's what I was $5. Yeah, $5. When I was researching things and looking into it, of course, when you watch the trailer on YouTube, as I hope everybody goes out and does, at the end of it, it prompts you to watch on YouTube, and so I just wanted to see what YouTube is charging for it, because I know what Sam Walton charges, and it's $10 through YouTube. So damn. I want to encourage everybody to head out once it's safe and buy a physical copy.
All right, so now here we are, a decade plus later. We know Austin's editor. After the 41-Year-Old Virgin, did you go on to do any other bigger acting roles besides the few stuff you did with Craig?
The answer is no.
All right. Well, then we're in the same boat. But we got those residuals.
You can look up my IMDb. Basically, every single thing after the 41-Year-Old Virgin was the minor roles I speak of in Craig's movies.
Never again on a movie poster? Because I know Sims has the artwork still hanging because his mug is right there.
Yeah, he's right on there. I'm disguised on the ID card, so I'm not really trying to hang that in my.
Yeah, you're dressed up as an old Jewish man.
Well, the story behind why I have that poster, and it's not even a poster, was my buddy Mike Roach, who we had on the show a couple weeks ago. Him and I were at a Subway restaurant eating lunch, and it was like a month before this came out, so May 2010. And someone was reading a trades magazine, and on the back cover of the trades magazine was the 41-Year-Old Virgin who knocked up Sarah Marshall and felt super bad about it, coming June 10th to DVD. And I was just like, I dropped my cheesesteak and was like, holy shit, that's me. Because no one told me that I was going to be on the cover. I didn't do a special photo shoot for it. It was like, they did it like how I did my movies. I just took a screen grab from Post and cut it out in Photoshop.
It really is. It's all just the three of you overlaid.
If you want to check out the 41-Year-Old Virgin who knocked up Sarah Marshall, who felt super bad about it, full title of a parody movie that myself and Austin Scott were in 2010, you can find that on Amazon Prime. It's also been known to be on MTV2 and Starz. So I don't know. Check your local listings.
Does anybody have MTV2 anymore?
I don't know. I don't even know. Is it
Does anybody have MTV anymore?
I'm surprised it's not on MTV7 at this point. But yeah, that's about it. I mean, Josh, you got any questions for myself or Austin?
No, I know that Austin went on to work with it, but Steve, this was really it until the National Lampoon's gig, wasn't it? Like as far as features?
I got to look at my IMDb as well.
You don't remember your cameo in Breaking Wind?
I don't remember if I was in Breaking Wind or not.
You showed up as farting dude in Breaking Wind?
Like Austin, I went on to have a production career, not editing, more in the field. But my next feature was A Futile and Stupid Gesture, because I was in short films that friends of mine directed, Goodbye Simon and Best of Both Worlds. But I didn't when I got the agent out of all this, it was like I felt like I was always going on Wiener Schnitzel commercial auditions and Disney movies or Disney TV shows, and I never got anything. But again, I never was great at auditioning. Everything that I'm in, it usually has just been like, hey, we saw you in this. Can you do it? I mean, it's like I have carte blanche for someone that shouldn't have carte blanche to be in this garbage. like when I thanked David Wayne at the rap party for A Futile and Stupid Gesture, I was like, thanks for having me. He probably was like, who the fuck is this guy?
Why is this guy up here making a speech?
Yeah, why is he up here making a speech? But well, I mean, I hate to say it, but Austin, you're here at the end. This is the end of the pod.
I'm so sad for you guys. I'm so happy to see your face.
Well,
and hear your voice. What's funny is I just wanted to drop this as just because we always thought the 41-Year-Old Virgin who not blah 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 etc. was such a long title. It's not even Craig's longest title.
What's Craig's longest title?
It would go to the movie I actually had a very small part in. Actually had a really funny scene with an actor named Danny Woodburn.
Yeah.
Seinfeld, and he's a great.
Yeah. He played Mickey in Seinfeld.
Yeah, he's fantastic. He's literally in so many movies. He's just crazy how amount of things he's in. But had this really terribly weird scene with him where we're basically like who I don't know. It was so random, but basically I'm like the camera guy for a ghost kind of like hunter company or whatever, and he's like the preacher guy that rids your house, or the exorcist, whatever, that rids your house of the ghosts. And so I show up with him, and we have this brief scene where he says what's up or whatever, and then like later on in the movie, we're like in bed, like just like casually lying, like propped up in bed eating popcorn, watching a movie, like watching like a kung fu movie, and we have this bucket of popcorn, and I reach my hand into the popcorn, and I like look at him, and he's like, "That's my penis."
What? That happened on set? Did you call HR?
This is literally the line that Craig wrote in the movie.
What movie was that? Was that 30 Nights of Paranormal Activity with the devil inside the girl with the dragon tattoo?
Exactly.
All right. Gosh, jeez. That one is a long title.
Isn't it? You know what's so funny, actually, just reminded me, because I'm credited as Groom/Roger Dodger. Now, Roger Dodger was the character I just spoke of. However, Craig needed extra content. This is what we ran into with Breaking Wind. The movie was too short. we edited it down, and we're like, this fucking movie needs like 5 minutes of content to even break like 90 minutes. What are we doing? And so in Breaking Wind, we added all these viral videos at the end of all these crazy Twilight fans. And if you watch the movie at the credits, there's and that was what it was for. It was to fill out the movie. Mm-hmm. And 30 Nights ran to the same issue. So he actually, I don't know what you call it, licensed the Skittles ad that we talked about before. And I'm sure it's either in the beginning or the end, but it's in the movie.
Oh, that's really cool. That's really cool. That actually, I'm glad you brought that up, because that actually reminds me of one thing that we forgot to talk about with the 41-year-old virgin. They had a EPK team at the time. That was Electronic Press Kit. I don't know if that's still called that. They did a whole like little BTS documentary on making the movie, which was, if you get the DVD, is worth watching. But on the DVD, and only available on the DVD, is a thing called Being Jonah Hill. And they made a little short about me looking so much like Jonah Hill, and they wanted to license Destroying Jonah Hill, Josh. Right. Well, if you remember when we watched Destroying Jonah Hill a couple weeks ago, it's riddled with licensed music and billboards that Sony owns.
And things you didn't take the time to McDonald's getting angry.
So I told them all this. I was like, listen, I made this in 2007. We didn't get anything, clearance for anything. They're like, that's fine. We can replace the music. It's just the billboards are going to be hard. So I was on emails with like Sony lawyers trying to get clearance for these billboards that we never got. So if you have a DVD of the 41-year-old virgin, on it is a segment DVD bonus called The Being Jonah Hill. And they show clips of my short, but it's so awful because the best part of Destroying Jonah Hill was when I see the sign of Jonah Hill, but it's all blurred out. So you don't know what I'm looking at. So check that out, and make sure to check out the 41-year-old virgin who knocked up Sarah Marshall, felt super bad about it. Eat some shrooms, watch it.
Smoke some weed.
Definitely smoke some weed, but I would recommend shrooms or acid as well. Austin, just want to thank you so much for stopping by. You seem like you're doing well. You look well, and you sound even better.
Thank you. My voice has been known to lure in many.
Do you have anything you want to plug or promote before we end this podcast?
I don't like to plug my stuff, but check out MasterChef on Fox.
That's right, MasterChef on Fox. That's good. All right, Austin's in. Like, good luck, man. I really hope like Breaking Wind isn't your only scripted credit. 10 years.
It won't be. No, I'm destined for bigger and better things. I've conquered unscripted programming, and I'm ready to make the transition.
Yeah, we should talk, because I'm trying to make a feature, and I have been for like 6 months now, and I don't want to edit it myself. So
no, you don't. You do not.
I definitely don't. Joshua Larkin, you have been an honor and a privilege. It's been an honor and a privilege to do this podcast with you, and I just want to thank you, Josh, for bringing the podcast game into my world. And thank you so much for listening to these war stories over the last 8 episodes.
I appreciate the opportunity, and you bringing a humble boy from Yinzer, Pittsburgh into the glitz and glamour of your Hollywood lifestyle, and introducing me to Hollywood actresses and the Clint Howard of the Craig Mossiverse, and all these amazing people that have joined us on our journey. And I hope whatever the future brings, that everybody finds that successful, that thing that they fit in with. Not all of us are Breaking Wind. Not all of us are farting dude for our whole lives. There are always things that we are destined to do in the future.
Absolutely. Wow. Well said.
Profound.
And as for the future of this podcast, there might be another season. You never know, but there may not be. And knowing me, there probably won't be. But no, in all seriousness, this has been a blast.
I'm glad I can be a part of it. Thanks, buddy.
I'm so happy you were here, Austin. Josh, I've been a pleasure sharing these stories with you. If you want to find any more information on me, That's simstvproductions.com. And you can just pretty much relive these stories and these adventures on that website. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm Steven Sims, along with Josh Larkin and Austin Scott. This is My Life as a Celebrity Lookalike. Thank you, and bye for now.